What is up, everyone? Wolf here from the Rage Traders, and I'm joined by a special guest. You have seen him before because I've been on the Supercoach experience, Brandon Savage, with something in the background that we won't want to mention, but it's fortunate that I do have a bonfire this weekend, so that's going to add to the fuel. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. It's Monday lockout. Usually a pretty good day where you set up all your trades, you feel good about your team. But I feel like this is the first round 3 in a long time that I'm not completely sold on my trades. So I guess we're going to talk about our trades later. But I have a lot to think about.
So do you feel good about your team, or are you feeling a bit rough with some decisions you've made?
I feel good about my team. I just feel like there's multiple directions I can take. And I think I'm going to have to let go of someone who is going to be dear to my heart very soon.
Okay,
And
sure. I think I know who you're talking about. But today we are actually going to be discussing for everyone here the top 25 negative break-even players currently. This is going to help you for your trades and what you're going to be lining up to do to be making cash, which is the most paramount thing you can do in the early days of Supercoach. I actually didn't know this gentleman's break even was so high, negative 82. Jesse Arthurs. That is absolutely insane, who I do have in my team from the get-go. Do you have Jesse Arthurs?
yeah, I actually got him in last week for Ali Tower, who on Friday night went over for a try and looked really good. But Jesse Arthurs looked just as good. I had a gut feeling about him with Ben Hunt on his left edge. I think cash generation wise, him being the most negative break-even player, he probably is deservingly the most traded in this week so far. But he has a very low floor, and if it doesn't work out for him, it's going to be really costly. But his draw over the next couple of weeks, it's definitely worth taking a punt on with the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Tigers in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think this is what we were all sort of banking on, right? If you did start with Jesse Arthurs, you were hoping that Brisbane got off to a fiery start and he kind of crossed over the line and just got you easy points, which is exactly what has happened. And that doesn't happen every single time. That's what you hope for. I think the good thing to see is he actually looks a lot more confident in terms of just like they got dominated by the Raiders and he was still not really making errors, got over the line multiple times. And I just think he's someone that's going to easily get you to like that CT dub that's possibly at 500,000 upwards, even if you can create more cash through someone else. Maybe it takes you to a Lomax or a Holmes who might be a bit under par at the right time for the draw, and that's it. So I mean, you're definitely laughing if you've started with Jesse Arthurs, and I think I don't know what the ownership was at the start of the round, but a lot of people had him, and a lot of people were scared of the floor as well. But I guess he's proven us wrong a bit.
Yeah, and the people that started with him got the scores, and the people that jump on this week are going to get the cash without the scores. So the people who started with him definitely end up on front and have other room to do other trades this week.
Yeah, and he's been on my starting field both rounds, which some people didn't do.
Hot.
Yeah, I just thought, I thought it was an easy thing to do, to be honest. I didn't really look into it too much. But next from the Roosters, Toya, negative 70 in the 2 games. I think obviously the Roosters' massive win against the Panthers. Do you think Billy Smith eventually comes in for this guy and ruins the party? Could he come in this week, or is it just he's going to make his 3 games and you get him out as soon as you can?
I don't think so. I think Robert Toy has been one of the shining lights for the Roosters. If he does push him out of the side, it doesn't really matter. He already is over 50% owned. He's 66% owned at the moment. So for me, he's in my starting side this week against the Warriors, and I expect big things from him. I mean, he looks like the kind of guy at the moment who's scoring well enough to play week in, week out.
Yeah, I think he's definitely either in your reserves or starting right this week, and most probably starting. New Zealand, even though they played amazing, they do have the ability to let up a lot of points. And negative 70, I would say most probably the first three negative break even players we're speaking about are must haves, and the next one is this is obviously pending the lineup, but we assume he's going to be in for the third game. Civilio Tamale. I didn't start with him just because of the Hopewadi issue, and I said surely one of my CT dubs goes absolutely crap, and I just can go across to him. Purdue being one of those most probably. Actually, my only one. So that's going to be good for me. But do you think he does get named to the third? We assume he does. And are you worried about Hopewadi at all, or we're all green and we're looking clear?
I am worried about Hopewadi, but I think Tamale showed a lot more than Hopewadi has over the last 3 years than Tamale has in 2 weeks. So I'm pretty confident he keeps his spot. Hopefully we get a lot more clarity tomorrow when team lists come out. But I'm so happy to have Tamale this week, and he's a playable option. I'm not playing him this week, but yeah, I think he's a really good trade in negative 59 break even. I think you've got to take the cash while you can get it. If he gets named this week, we've got 1 week from him, and then hopefully we can get another week from him, and then hopefully we can squeeze the lemon as far as it can go over the next couple of weeks. And if he gets dropped after 3 or 4 weeks, then he's still done his job cash-wise for us.
Yeah, and I think it was a really ballsy play to start with him. I know he's a CTW that's starting, but one, you didn't know who was going to really win in the Vegas match. You did maybe think there was points that was going to happen, but with the Hopewadi news, it's like, hey, I'm just going to literally witness the birth of my child and I'll be back. If they did lose that game, there's no way Tamale would be in that team. Hopewadi would just come straight in. So it's a very ballsy play and risky play, and it's paid off. And congrats if you did start with him. Next at number 4, someone you've spoken about dearly, Tom Starling.
I have.
Are you surprised?
What are you laughing at in particular? Because I've been very hot on him, but
I know, but did you start with him?
No, I didn't.
That's what I'm laughing about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he was in a lot of my drafts early on. I ended up starting with Pete Mamazelos, which
not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Yeah, I want to speak about him later. Okay. I think he's a very good option. I think his 100 on the weekend is in his rolling average now. He does have the draw I'm not worried about, but he played 70 minutes over the first 2 weeks. Going to play another 70 minutes over the next 2 weeks. For me, if you've got like a Sandon Smith, you can sell. Tom Duffy is a popular sell this week. I think Tom Duffy, there's a chance he gets dropped. Yep. I think the prospect of moving Tom Duffy on, Sandon Smith up to halfback and getting Tom Starling in as a second hooker, generating money, that's your ticket to Nathan Cleary or Nico Hines in the long run. Because one of these guys, Pete Mamazelos or Tom Starling, can make you bulk cash very quickly. And then that could be your ticket to Nico Hines or Nathan Cleary if you don't have them.
Yeah, I think it's either two ways you go. You do exactly what you've said, which is a very, very good play, in my opinion, or you just Duffy, you find more cash and you get Humphreys in. But then you've got Dodd on the trail sort of saying, hey, if South start not performing, he could just come in and take Humphreys' time a bit. I think the correct play is what you said, though. If you do have Duffy in, I said it before. I'm a Cowboys fan. I said it before. I was so scared of starting Duffy because if they didn't perform, and you only had Hines, if you have Hines and Duffy, the last 2 weeks you've just been scared. Even though Hines is like sort of just got there, you're not enjoying watching the games.
No.
And I think that now that we've got these actual cheapy hookers that are providing a bit of breathing space for us and breathing room. It's mostly between Starling and Mamazelos at this moment. Your boy Wade Egan slowly creeps up in there as well after a really good game for the Warriors. But yeah, I really like that play. And again, we're not going to be moving Smith for a while, and we're going to be waiting for the right time to either grab Hines or it could be someone else. You don't know who it could be, but just someone that has a bit more value. Next up at 528,600, so a bit more expensive. Jason Saab, which is actually very surprising to see. Negative 54 break even. For me personally, I don't think he's someone you're going to be chasing in the CT dubs just due to the price tag. Also, with the injuries now that are possible with Turbo, DCE, we obviously want to wait for the definitive lineups for the Eagles because that's going to hurt Saab. I've even been toying with getting rid of Garrick, believe it or not, just to create a cheapie that I know is going to make cash if DCE and Turbo aren't there. But what do you think about Saab? And do you think he's someone people could chase or should chase?
I like Saab if everyone's healthy, but it doesn't seem everyone's healthy, does it?
Yeah.
Jason Saab, negative 54 break even, just scored 114 on the weekend. That'll stay in his average, but he can put up a 20-point performance, an 8-point performance.
Mm-hmm.
Does have Raiders and Parramatta both at home in the next 2 weeks. So I feel like if there's ever a time to jump on Jason Saab, now's the time. The thing just it comes down to Turbo's injury and whether he's good or not. If he's good, if he's named, I like it. But I think there's a lot of other options at the price that I prefer a lot better.
100%. I think you're much better just going to a Tamale or something like that for the price and having an extra 300,000 to play with, where we can look at the front row forwards or second row forwards that are having a bit of drama at the moment in 2RF. So next, with the buy, however, Christian Tuipulotu from St. George, negative 52 break even. Is he a bit too expensive here, or is he actually someone you could tackle?
I think you could do him there. You could tackle him. 550K. He's a bit expensive. It's just whether you can fit him. Like from my side, there's no way I could fit him in my side just because of the guns I have versus the cheapies I have. I want to let these people grow in price. But that left edge for St. George looks really good. I like the look of St. George and their left edge with Gutho and Holmes down that edge. So I think it is very good. I think he's going to keep it up this year. But look at all these guys with negative break evens. You can't have them all. And he's probably one that it's easy to miss out on.
Yeah, well, I think the next one you definitely need to have if you don't have him, Sandon Smith, negative 51, halfback and hooker, dual, 237,600. And if you don't have him in, you get him in right now. Or I personally believe if you don't, you're going to be just trailing.
54% owned compared to the Robert Toyer, who is 66. So there's still 12% of people who are serious players that don't have him. So I would say you've got to get Sandon in for sure.
Yeah. And I think what they have the Warriors next. Hopefully that's, sort of like an 18, 20 points each way game between each teams. Like it's going over 40, hopefully in total. I just think, especially the win against Penrith has completely changed the Roosters. You're expecting a team that's just has a bit more confidence now after the belting they copped from Brisbane. And I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. I don't want to talk about it too much. Next at number 8 in your break-evens list, Clint Gutherson, who, by the way, is the highest total point scorer at the moment in Supercoach after 2 rounds, being at $675,400. Insane. Negative 46 break even. Did you see this happening? And can you believe he's actually done way better than the likes of Reece Walsh, Turbo, Ponga?
I thought he'd do well. I did not think he'd do this well. This is a career. We've seen Gutho go on runs like this, but I've never seen him play this well. I think this is going to keep up for the rest of the season. We saw him at Parramatta. Every time Mitchell Moses was out, he would step up when he was healthy. That is. Last year he was not healthy, so it was a bit tricky for him to bank up the points. But for me, I think I really like him. He does have the Storm when he comes back in round 4, and then Parramatta and the Titans the following week. So I don't know. I think at about that time, the gun fullbacks are going to start to get bigger scores. So I don't think you can touch him, but it would have been a nice thing to start with, to be honest.
I just think the buy is the one thing, right? Like if there's no buy here, you are likely going down to Gutherson or maybe Pap. they're your two plays from like Turbo, if you have Turbo, right? Or Reece Walsh or something like that. The bye makes it really awkward. And I've always been a big person on waiting for the challenging game. So this next game they have after the bye, I really want to see what they do there against a team that maybe has a bit more grunt, has a bit more better of a defensive edge, where it just feels like the tries that I've been seeing, he hasn't been doing bad, but the Dragons have just been getting free looks on the edges. And I really want to see what they do against someone that's got a bit more, as I said, grunt in their team, and it's a much better team. And then be like, okay, I can take him serious now. You are going to be missing out on, obviously, that huge negative break even. But again, we've got Pap that's coming into like the third price as well. So their second game is this week. If he has a blinder, you're most probably looking at Pap as well. So that's how I would play it anyway.
Yep, for sure.
Next, Shibasaki from the Broncos, negative 43 at 232,600. Geez, a bit of a rough game. I think you saw what a lot of people were talking about him against Raiders, not in a sense of his performance, just in a sense of when things get rough, that's when he really can go to sort of like the floor, just like any other CT dub. But with a negative 43 break even, is this one of your must-haves or someone that you'd likely be getting in if you are boosting this week as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think if you don't have him in your side, he's just a bottom dollar guy who's going to make money. He's going to earn just as much as Tamale is, except he probably has better job security. He is only 41% owned as well. So with him, we said who was it? Jesse Arthurs has over the next 3 weeks, Cowboys, Dolphins, Tigers. I think Gehemat gets a lot of attacking stats in them 3 weeks.
Yeah. And next up, we have the man himself, Mama Mazelis from Souths. And the team has surprised, I think, a lot of people just in terms of their grit and getting the 2 wins, which I think is massive, especially against the Dragons. I really didn't expect them to win against the Dragons, and they pulled it off. He had an absolutely massive second game. I was so surprised that he didn't take one run in the first game. I think Wayne Bennett got in his ear and sort of said, hey, this is your stat. You need to be a bit more aggressive. And he took that on board. And you saw a kind of different hooker or someone that just took in the advice. And now he's at negative 35 at 302,900. Are you either going Starling or Mam due to the minutes? Is Mam more of a target because you don't have, I guess, you've got the data that he's doing 80 minutes. But Starling, anything could happen. Or are you just going, look, Starling's got the higher negative break even, and I'm just going to Starling because of that, and he's still getting 60, 65 minutes.
I guess, battling between both of them, just on gut vibe and break even, I think Starling is the better option to go to.
Yeah.
But Mamazelos played 70 minutes in the first week. I think that will be the plan going forward. He's not going to be an 80-minute guy, but as soon as one thing happens, Tallis Duncan got injured during this game. He played 80 minutes straight away. So I think if anything happens to their pack or anyone, he's the first one that's going to get inflated minutes from his 70 minutes already. So that's a plus. On the weekend, he looked so much better in attack. He looked like he wanted to run the ball. Hopefully that keeps up because he does have a base of about just like 35 in tackles. He's had 36 and 34 tackles in the first 2 weeks. But compared to last week, he had he had 6 runs on the weekend compared to his 1 run the week before. So
I think you're definitely going Starling, right? Because looking at the draw as well, Sharks, Panthers, Roosters for Souths. So I expect 2 or 3 losses in that one, unfortunately. They're coming up against some very tough squads. But just with Starling and what the Raiders are doing and how confident they are at the moment, I would say between the two, yeah, you are right. You are definitely going Starling.
Better forward pack too, but I think with the draw over the next couple of weeks for Mamazelos is playing the Sharks and then Penrith. I think that means a lot more tackles for him, which I think is a plus because I think he'll just do it. So I think his floor over the next few weeks will be a lot higher than Starling's potentially, but I just feel more confident Starling's going to get the attacking stats.
Yeah. Also, what I worry about, though, is if they do go 3 losses down in a row, and let's say they're 30, 40-point losses, because it can happen, then it reverts back to what it was. Humphrey's at 14. Dodd comes in now, this guy they've paid 700 grand for, and all of a sudden Mamazelis is doing 40, 50 minutes, and you're like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I trade him in? I should have just gone Starling. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that's also something to think about there. Number 11, if you didn't start with this guy, you should be slapped on the feet. Corey Horsburgh, negative 33. This guy has literally been, I truly believe, the core of Canberra Raiders, just pushing them forward, getting things going, creating space by fast play the balls, and just 3 or 4 people on him. It's just incredible the way he's been performing. And, you know, against the Broncos forward pack, this isn't a forward pack that's under par. This is full strength, you know, Carrigan, Haas, and this guy's just been overperforming. If you don't have him, you 100% have to get him in your team. Would you agree with that?
100% agree. I don't have to add on that. He's already 58% owned. So if you don't have him, you're in the minority.
So what is either 42% of people have completely given up on Supercoach already, or they still haven't done the trades yet. So I don't know what's going on there, but it definitely has to be done. Next one, someone who's on my black book. I've taken what you've said to me about, I think it's Timmy in the black book, and I've got my own black book as well. I've got a big watch on this guy now, Matty Nicholson. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but does the broken hand of Hosking now make his I guess, points possibly go up a bit more, his usage go up a bit more? I don't know if that's correct in saying that, but negative 26 break even at 336,000. One game played though, however, so you're not playing for the price change this week.
Yeah, so he only played 66 minutes on the weekend. What I'm looking at, he did score 2 tries and had 2 line breaks in that. He did have 26 tackles, 10 points in tackle bust, which is 36 points. And then how many runs did he have? He had 10 points worth of runs. So 46 in base and power, which is a bit low, but he will be playing 80 minutes next week. So I definitely want to have a look at him on the weekend and see how he goes. If he gets more than, let's say, 45, then I think I'm sold.
What I'm trying to get into the mentality of, especially with Supercoach, and what I realized over, like, last year was my first season of Supercoach, and I think I finished like 20,000th or something. I think there's an edge to being proactive rather than reactive in this game. And this guy could be someone where if you pulled the trigger now, just like when people last week pulled the trigger on Haas, like, I didn't do that. And now I kind of think maybe I should have just gone Hopgood, brought Horsburgh down, bring Haas in. And that's that, 100 points, that 90 points that you kind of lose out on by not being like proactive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to put Haas numbers up or anything like that. I'm just saying he could be someone that next week he could possibly be one of the most traded people in the top 5 that you're like, I should have just done that last week. Like, to me, saying Seyfarth down to Nicholson just screams so much value, where I'm getting a lot more money out of it. And I'm also getting someone that still has a negative break even.
I think if you're in a position where you don't need to do any other trades, I think it is a nice thing to do. I think there will be some other purchases that come up next week potentially. So if you're in a position where you don't have other burning issues, it would work in that case. I think the difference between being proactive and reactive with Payne Haas is we know what Payne Haas can do. So being proactive is seeing one week and seeing he is looking better than we've ever seen him. Whereas Matty Nicholson, I think you buying him after 1 week is being more reactive than proactive, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
We don't know what he actually looks like week to week. So we need more of a sample size from him. I guess if you saw enough from him to think he can keep this up all season, then maybe. But we've seen the turnaround in a lot of teams over 2 weeks from week 1 to week 2. I think we just need to have more of a sample size for some of these guys that we don't know about.
If you take the 2 tries away from his score, does he still scream? Maybe not scream, but doesn't he still sort of say to you, "Hey, look at me"? Still, even if he's going at 45, 47 points.
In 66 minutes, it's still very nice. Like you look at that score and you think, yeah, that looks good. But
Yep.
Some of the tackle busts he scored the try in, I think he would have got 2, 3, or 4 tackle busts that he scored in under 40. So it's not that attractive.
Okay. That's fair.
But he also didn't play 80 minutes, so we don't know.
Okay. So you think definitely give it just one more week if he plays 80, swinging him in.
Yeah. So are you thinking about it, are you?
Well, the problem is I feel like I have to trade in Seyfarth to get to Haas.
Yep.
That's the problem.
If that's your avenue to Haas, then I think that's a great trade.
Yeah. And then I have been thinking about it like today because, as some of you may know, I have just had a newborn. So I'm literally just home all day going through analytics and stuff for fantasy as well. And I said to myself, is there actually a world where I just go Tino over Haas? Because my front row forwards are already doing good. Like I have May, I have Horsburgh, I have Gulner. Like, am I overplaying FRF? But then I was like, if I go Haas and Haas stuffs up, at least I'm with the majority and we just go down to Tino anyway.
I think Tino is going to be a must.
He will be, but I've got you have the one extra week to play with that.
Oh, yeah. If it's one this week and then the other next week, you're going Haas Tino.
So that's what I'm doing. That's the play. But next, we've spoken about him just a touch here, but number 13 at 305,400. I call him the knight in shining armor for scapegoating basically Duffy in a sense, because this guy, if you were just caught with Duffy and you didn't have Sandon Smith as well, and there was no Humphreys, you'd be screwed. But this guy is at negative 25. Jamie Humphreys for South Sydney Rabbitohs has just popped in out of nowhere and absolutely kind of dominated. What do you think about him? Do you think he warrants? I think from memory, he's second or third in most traded ins, or maybe he's definitely in the top 5 from what I've seen. But yeah, what do you think about him? Is he someone do you think people should be looking at?
I get why they're doing it from Tom Duffy. Obviously, I've revealed my hand on what I'm preferring. I'm preferring the Tom Starling play. He does have the Sharks and Penrith in the next 2 weeks, and he has been saved by attacking stats and 4 or 5 goals in the first 2 weeks. So
can I just ask you quickly?
Yeah.
How many trades do you think people have done to get Jamie Humphreys in at the moment?
People would be
Monday.
Like how many traded in?
Yeah. Just have a guess.
Have you got it up here? Let's say 6,000.
Close. 7,242.
Yeah.
Which is second on the most traded in. Next to Payne Haas again. So people are really doubling down on Haas.
Well, actually, Jesse Arthurs is number 1 at 11,660.
Is this wrong for me?
You might be under the not in my team category.
No, I've got no. Mine's weird. Mine's actually saying what I've said.
Well, mine right here
says refreshed.
Jesse Arthurs 11,660.
Wow. Mine's got Haas, Humphreys, Munster, Tino, Starling.
Yeah, that's the exact order I have, but Jesse Arthurs is number 1. So it's all 2, 3, 4.
Oh, do you know why? Because it's listed as not in my team.
Yeah, okay. That's what I said.
Oh. I was so confused. I was like, what is going on here? Wait, so how do you switch that? Can you actually switch that or no?
Yeah, so go to players, and then on the right it should say most popular.
Okay, that's too much effort. Next one. I
just want to talk on Jamie Humphreys as well.
Yeah,
people are trading him in. I do like the Tom Starling play a lot more. He does have the Sharks and Penrith in the next 2 weeks, and he's had a try assist and line break assist in the first 2 against sides who have leaked a lot of points in their first 2 weeks. I just think the Starling play is a lot more safe than the Humphreys play. He's already in the negative 58 break even. I can see Humphreys getting 25 this week and only raising about $40,000. So going to 340 whereas
Mhm.
Tom Starling could get a 55 and get a 90K price rise with that 100 in his rolling average, and you can move him on quicker to a Nico Hines or a Nathan Cleary. I just think that is by far and away the better play. And dare
Yeah.
I say, Jamie Humphries, he has had the easier matchup in the last 2 weeks. I think the
Mhm.
Sharks and Penrith are going to find him out. I think he's been very slow with his kicking and very slow with his decision making. I think they're going to rush up on him and he's going to get flustered. He has been very good in the first 2 weeks, but he's just a bit slow. He just can't get rid of the ball as quick as the elite halves. And I've noticed that he just takes that tad longer. Well, we
Yeah.
saw it in the
Sorry,
week.
my wife just walked in with my newborn, and I'm like, I'm on podcast. No.
That happened to me early on as well. It was
Apologies. If it looked like I wasn't interested, it was like I was trying to battle 3 things at once. I actually agree with you here. Geez, I'd love to disagree with you, but you just bring up so many valid points. Also, Manly Seagulls, if their lineup again is not as strong as what it is, it just makes the Starling play much more safer and the play to do. Obviously, like I started with Cleary and Hines, so I can't be doing the play you're talking about. But yeah, that just seems completely on the money, to be honest with you. Number 17. This actually surprised me a bit. If you actually did start with him, good on you, because I think a lot of people would have traded him out as well. Chanel Harris Tavita. Negative. Oh, sorry, that is incorrect. That's a bit down. Someone you did speak about though, number 14, Hamish Stewart. Now does have the buy, negative 25, but a front row forward. 198,800. Do you think he's going to remain in the team? Do you think he's actually going to get dropped because of the losses? What's your thoughts there?
I think he's done very well. He scored 46 again on the weekend, negative 25 break even. David Clemmer has signed with the club though. But Blake Lowry played on the weekend, who is out of favor. So I think he'll take Blake Lowry's spot. I'd be happy to pull the trigger on him. Royce Hunt for me is a plotter, so I'd be happy to bank 50K and go down Hamish Stewart next week. I was tempted to do it this week, but I just want to make sure he gets named next week.
Yeah, if anything happens with Gallner as well, I'm gonna be so annoyed.
He's been so good, hasn't he?
Yeah. It was a great call by you because I had no idea about him, and as soon as we looked at his stats, he literally went in my team. He never moved out, and he's just produced for me. He's been really good. Next.
He'll get to 500K nearly as well, I reckon. He'll be a slow burn, but he'll have that week where he has an attacking stat and just pops off for us.
If he could do it a bit quicker, so I could just change him for Tino, that would be good as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Next, number 15 on this negative break evens list, Xavier Savage, who's only played 1 game. So if you do bring him in, you're not going to get the price change, which might be a good thing. You could take the gamble on him, only at 428,300 as well for someone that did have a very, very big round 1. Also looked like one of the best, if not the best player in round 1 against the Warriors. Negative 23, do you think it's someone you still wait and watch and just hope if he does do something, then go for it? Or is it someone you can take the risk on?
I think this is the kind of play where you do be proactive. If you like what you saw in round 1 and he is named, if you think he's going to have a breakout season, I think he's the type of guy, if he gets 100 in the second week and he's the most traded in his third week, then you're not really getting the benefits of liking him early on. So if you do like him, pull the trigger early if he's named, and hopefully you do reap the rewards. I think he looks bigger and stronger this year. So I think he's definitely a better buy than his price suggests.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a bit more expensive, closer to like in my eyes, if you say who would you rather want, Savage or Skelton, it's definitely Savage. Like I think Skelton's price tag, I think from memory, is 589,000, which is just crazy. And he has been above that, but there's not huge upside. I think Savage has the ability, if he can just plot away and get, a 50 to a 70 each game, you are going to be laughing. And I think, I don't know if you can check this up for me, but I'd love to know his ownership, because I I dare say he won't be owned by a huge amount, so he could be a little pod as well.
For Xavier Savage,
yeah, what's his? Is he under 10%?
7%.
Yeah. So that's actually a good play you could do. That would just get you the differential in points. Again, though, we have so many CT dubs that are just popping out big scores. But yeah, could be a play. Number 16. Oh, this guy has been really good for me, and I brought him in. I don't know. I assume you brought him in as well. Hubner, negative 23 for Souths, and he won't be going anywhere. I think he has 2 weeks suspension, which kind of is annoying and hurts you, but you're not trading him out. You're just going to leave him there, wait for him to be named again, and it's going to be funny because they might play horrendous South these next 2 games and just get walloped, and then they're like, it's because of Hubner. We need him back. So I think he's definitely going to be coming back. He's been performing very well, and he's just a hold if you have him in your team. But you wouldn't be bringing him in now if he's not in your team. Wait for the suspension and then go from there.
If he's not in your team, he's a nice little downgrade in 2 weeks, and I think it's good timing. I think you're going to have a lot of guys who mid-ranges that maybe you haven't been able to get rid of yet. And I think even some of these center wings, you can move Dylan Lucas up if he's in your second row to accommodate for him. So I think if you don't have him, it's actually a pretty sweet play.
I think he's a perfect, like, let's say Gilbert only averages 40, 43. Like, he's just kind of doing a safe off as well, and he's not showing a huge amount of upside. Maybe wait the 2 or 3 weeks and then just go down to Hubner if you can, or wait for that suspension, then bring them down for those type of guys. But yeah, he's been great, a great find, and thank the lineups because we had no one really to go to. And then he's come and sort of helped us in the 2RF area. Number 17, this is who I was speaking about before. Chanel Harris Tavita, negative 21. Didn't expect him to be in the top 25, to be honest. I don't know what he scored last round, but do you think him being 5'8" and only being 330,500 after Dylan Brown, shocking score, would you be wild enough to follow the rage traders and go down even?
I don't mind the play at the negative break even, but if you have Luke Metcalf, they do have to buy him round 5. So you're going to hope that one of these guys is going to make enough money for you to move on to a gun, which you probably can in 2 weeks. So I think for me, I'd happily take the punt, but I wouldn't play him.
Do you know what I can guarantee for you, though?
What?
13,000 people don't have Metcalf.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that'll sting. So if you traded out Metcalf, the 13,000, I think 300 it was of people that felt the wrath of Metcalf on the Warriors second round match. And then you go to Chanel Harris Tavita and you're like, oh, I'll just go to the cheaper guy now. And I'll just swing that. I mean, go for it. It could be a play. If you don't have the Warrior now, any Warrior in your halves, that could be your play. So, yeah, number 17, Chanel Harris Tavita. Number 18, a popular hooker, Corey Pakes, 232,600. I'm actually very interested to see if Billy Walters is going to start this week. Is there going to be like any type of shakeup in the Broncos line? I'm waiting on also Piakura's like price to drop way down and him now start, things like that. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of chop and change. Do you think he's someone, if he is still named on the Broncos starting lineup, that you can go to, or you still just hot on Starling and just be like, Starling, don't go anywhere else?
Yeah, I think Corey Pakes is probably the number 5 or 6 hooker option at the moment, in terms of like just overall. But yeah, I think he's a bit of a dud, to be honest. I think his first week saved him. He will get tries off the back of that forward pack, but it is quite concerning that on the weekend, he scored 39 and played 54 minutes. Yeah. That's still pretty good.
Didn't do too bad.
I thought he had 40 tackles, so that was pretty good. I think I would Oh, geez, he's not too bad at the price, but I like Mamazelos and Sandon and also
Yeah.
Starling a lot more.
I think a negative 58 break even with a Canberra side that's flying is most probably your better play, to be honest with you. It just screams a bit more value and a bit more safety. Next, geez, you really weren't happy with the Parramatta Eels performance. Number 19, Isaiah Iongi. He's negative 20 break even, 232,600. What are your thoughts here? Obviously, you're holding him. Parramatta Eels, in my opinion, just for who they have on paper, are looking like the worst team at the moment. Followed by very closely, I think, the Cowboys. And I mean, if it wasn't, I think it was the first round where he got like 68 or 65. If it wasn't for that, things would be looking very scary now. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Iongi? Do you think if someone doesn't have Iongi now, they have to get him in, or it's just no, like wait and see?
Yeah, you don't have to get him in. The negative 20 break even
Yeah.
and how he's performing. He does have the Bulldogs this week, who defensively are pretty good. Yeah, I'm actually really happy as someone who bought 3 gun fullbacks because I think it's going to be really hard to move him on. But I think you just got to wait. Like, he will get an attacking start. He has looked pretty good, but the Eels just look average in putting him in spaces that he needs to go. So I think it's worth the wait, but I think you expect him more a lot quicker so he can move on to a gun fullback. Reece Walsh has the gun draw coming up, so I'm really excited to own Reece Walsh despite the 9 he scored on the weekend.
Don't you? Yeah, this is blasphemy.
Yeah.
He, if you watch my video before, like that's coming out before this, he sits atop Moron Mountain with a flag raised high.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good feeling buying 3 gun fullbacks and one of them drops out. One of them drops out because they're the lowest score in your side. So, at least Yongi, you've been able to strengthen up your side elsewhere. So be patient. He looks good enough, but the Eels don't look good. So, I think you've definitely just got to wait a couple more weeks, but don't wait too long because you can't go for 3 fullbacks for too long. Like without 3 gun fullbacks for too long.
There is also a world where, I mean, this could be crazy talk where you do trade out Reece Walsh, you do fling a fullback to the actual fullback reserve and just choose one of those to be your captains, and actually in your flex get a cash cow, or maybe get someone that you can just plug into that position. I mean, it sounds like you're holding with Walsh, which is a very ballsy move, but it could pay off and it could backfire. Like, we just don't know. Time will tell. We expect Brisbane to come back much stronger than what they showed. But yeah, I would agree. If you don't have him, don't stress on him now. If he was at negative 40, negative 50, I'd be like, okay, get him in. But now with the performances and how Parramatta Eels are playing as a club, I think the Dylan Brown news, I don't know if there's stuff going on in between of that club and that maybe some people are a bit like just over him now. I've always hated this about the NRL though. Like, these things get announced and they have to like then stick with the teammates for a year, knowing that this guy who's a core of the team is leaving. And surely some people are there are dirty with him, like teammates. They're like, whatever. We don't know exactly, but I've always wished the news came out at the end of the season, or if there was like a deadline period, kind of like the NBA. Anyway, that's just a nitty picky thing with me. I don't know what you think about that though.
I actually don't. I don't hate it. I don't like the fact that it lingers for a year. Like, I get you got to get your stuff sorted and all that, and I think they're professionals, so I think they will. Like, they're professionals. It's out of their way, but it's all the negotiating in between when it drags on for way too long. Like this has dragged on for a little bit. I remember the Ben Hunt news, like that dragged on for so long last year. I just think,
and it kind of went quiet, right? The Dylan Brown, it was like, oh, nothing's happening.
yeah, because
It's just an email.
He was signed with Parramatta for 7 years, so there shouldn't have been anything. So he just had a clause in his contract which allowed him to sign elsewhere. And I'm filthy I started with him because I thought I was going to get 10 weeks of him playing for a contract, and he took one after the first week. So
that's what you kept hearing, right? He's like, he's playing, it's his contract here, he's playing for a contract. And now Moses is out. It's going to be amazing. If he gets injured, like really bad injury, like let's say it's season ending, does the contract revert?
No, it's still
Yeah,
signed.
I can see why Newcastle fans are very angry. Anyway, next one. Let's not talk about it too much. I've actually really liked this pick. If you started with this guy, that's big props. Sebastian Chris, number 20 in this negative break-evens list. Going at negative 19. He's been playing really, really well, very aggressive. Is it someone you would pick though, considering if you did look for someone like this, you'd just go Savage or Jesse Arthurs?
Yeah, I think Savage has more upside, but Seb Chris, he had 10 points in tackle busts in the first week, 20 points this week, which is nuts. And both weeks he's had 20 points in hit ups. So that's already 40 points in the first 2 weeks, and then 7 points and 14 points to tackle. So his base is still quite low. I don't think he has enough upside. I think he's a typical player who comes out and wall pulls us for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think scoring 2 tries really masks what is actually going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's playing Manly at home this week, so I think Manly
Yeah.
are bounce back
So
week.
Canberra about to drop 50. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no.
No, we do expect Manly to bounce back. Hopefully DCE and Turbo are named. If that is the case, I think I'm going to hold on Turbo. I don't want to overplay, but yeah, next on this list, number 21. If I just can't believe I'm reading this name out in the top 25, it's Adam Reynolds, $500,700, negative 16. Surely you cannot go here though. It's not something you're getting in, right?
You can't, but they look good off the back of a forward pack, 500K. I don't know. I don't mind it. I don't mind it if you can go up from Duffy and just a 2-week play for the Cowboys and the Dolphins at Suncorp. Actually, the next 3 weeks are at Suncorp. So I don't mind it. In a side that puts on points and he's the goal kicker, I don't mind it.
Do you think there's people out there that are recorrecting their Metcalf trade and just being like, you know what? I stuffed up. I got him out 117 or whatever it was. I'm just going to get him back in.
I think it'd be okay. I think that would be okay to do that. Because you bought him in the preseason thinking he's going to do one thing. Comes out round 1, looks completely different to what we expected. Comes out round 2. Mm-hmm. Okay. I get it. I wouldn't have the balls to do it again, but hats off to you if you do, because it probably is the decision you need to make. Because if he can drop 120 on Manly, who's a top 4 side, then he can drop 120 on anyone. So I think he would be scary not to have.
Yeah, and they kind of did a Roosters, right? In just the sense of poor start, next round came back and said, hold on, we're actually here to play footy.
Yeah.
And in the 400K zone, you've got Humphreys there, which you've sort of spoken about not being a trap. Is if you said who's the 400K half or guy that's going to make you money in the halves, it's him. It's still him. So
100%.
Maybe you just stuffed up and you need to get him back in. It could be a play. Next, also, we actually have a halfback again, negative 15 at 390,000, Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins. Could you? That's scary in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think the Dolphins look that good. 52 in the first week, which, I mean, he had a try assist. I mean, he's the general for that side. I don't know. Maybe he is having like a year, but we've got Humphreys at halfback. I prefer Humphreys a lot more. But yeah,
it's tough, right?
Yeah.
I think out of all the teams, there's most probably 2 teams you're steering clear of.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins, and the others most probably the Cowboys, unfortunately.
Yep.
There's one person out of those teams that I'd still keep my eye on. That's Finafuiaki.
Yep.
I would really keep him on your watch list. Make sure you just see how he plays this week. If you want to be proactive, damn, this is the time that you could get Finafuiaki in and he could just be ripped through, get you a 60, 70, and he's someone people are getting in. I wouldn't advise doing that. You do have because of the HIA, you get the extra week to look at him. And that's the good thing about Supercoach. You get in these, I always say it, in these, first few weeks, the first couple of weeks, you don't have to pull the trigger because you're getting free data. The next two people I'm actually really, really interested on. Number 23 at -14, Sean Kepi. FRF though. No duel, just solid front row forward. Do you think it's just someone you can't really go because generally all the good Supercoach players have just got May? Some of them have Gunnar. Everyone has Horsburgh.
Yeah, it's just the position. I don't think you can spend up as your fourth front rower as well. And I think everyone's pretty set on their three. So, like with him, how has he done the first week? He got 37 in the first week, 65 minutes on the weekend, which isn't too bad. But Talis Duncan got injured, so inflated minutes there. Definitely looks better than he has in the past, but I think definitely inflated by the try.
Yeah, and I think the position like last season, front row forwards was this is like where you could be like, hey, I will go Sean Kepi in this scenario. But now with what we have in FRF, it's just like everything's laid out for us. We've kind of been given these guys that are just absolutely dominating, and that's it. Next, although I do want to speak about number 24 on this break-even list, -14 break-even, Stafford Toa. Is that how you say it? Is it Stafford? Stafford?
Yep.
288,400. Definite look, definite play, I'd say. He's only got the one game though.
He looked really good, but for me, my center wing's so stacked already. I can't do it. Like we've already got Toya, we've got. I haven't sold Purdue, so I've still got Purdue. I've got Tamale, Arthurs, Shibasaki. So that's 5 center wings. I've only got 2 more slots for guns. Who I have Skelton and Garrick. So none of them are ready to be sold yet. So I'm pretty happy to be leaving. Just forgetting about Toa, to be honest.
Yep. Number 25. So the last one on our list in the top -25 break evens. Jordan Samrani for the Parramatta Eels, -12. CT dub again, 198,800. I'd say mostly not a touch. Wait and see. Parramatta Eels, you don't know what's going to happen with the lineups. Things could go AWOL. Just don't touch.
He looked really good though, so if he does come out and score well next week, I know I just said my center wing stacked, but I actually really like him. So hopefully he can come out and hopefully he gets dropped, and then we can pick him up later in the year when he does get picked. So
yeah. And hopefully Geimer comes back as well. That'd be great. But
yeah, hopefully.
I just did want to speak on, so that's your top 25. There's just a few I did want to mention, especially because the Melbourne Storm have only played one game, so you're not seeing these massive negative break evens. But if you did want to be proactive, I don't have Mars U. I don't know whether this will bite me in the backside, but I can see how he can get 25 sometimes, although he does look great. If you don't have Marzu, that's definitely going to be a play for you this week if you did want to do it. Newcastle have Gold Coast, and again, Gold Coast did not play very well, had a shocking start. One who's very good, well priced, and only had one game, Jack Howarth against Penrith. I think if he has a really good game this week, he's someone that I'm actually going to look at plugging in because I just want to see how he does and how he scores against Penrith, a much better team than Melbourne versus the Eels in round 1 and absolutely dominating. And then you've got a couple more here. Wade Egan, -3 break even, who's in a hooker position under 500,000 at 491. And I also did really like, although he's a tiny bit expensive, not crazy, Marcelo Montoya, 408,000. He is a CT dub. -4 break even, and they are versing the Parramatta Eels this week, so you could see him snag some points there. Keep them on your watch list. And last but not least, I think the biggest one of them all to see, most probably Ryan Pappenhausen and Cam Munster. These two guys, this is your wait and watch week. They've only got one game, but I would just see how they play against the Panthers and go from there. But if Pap goes big here, boy, oh boy, is he a trade down target from Turbo if Turbo doesn't perform or is not in the lineup.
For sure.
Yep. All right. So that is your list for the negative break evens. Before we end this beautiful podcast and video, I did want to go through each of our teams, talk about what you're looking at doing for the trades on your teams and whether you're looking at boosting. First and foremost, how did your team go this week? What was your score? What's your current rank? And then where are your like tough areas and what are you looking to do with trades?
I scored 1291, ranked 39,000,
Yep.
come up from 69,000th, which was
A good jump.
big jump. Didn't have Tino this week, so he's on my target for next week, which I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. I've got Jack Williams in my team who he's been so close to me and I really want to hold on to him, but I think he's my ticket to Tino next week.
Sure.
I didn't have Olakwatu after the first week, so I traded him in last week. But this week, I'm looking at going Tom Duffy to Tom Starling via Jules. And to fund that, I'm going Kobe Hetherington to Tamale via Dylan Lucas. And then I have to make another trade. I'm looking at maybe Dylan Brown to Adam Dewey or Dylan Brown to AJ Brimson potentially just to create a bit of cash. But that's what I'm looking at the moment. I might change.
Did you not start with Brimson?
I didn't.
Nice. That worked out well for you. I think he got 40.
I thought he looked okay.
Yeah.
And I think that
it's not bad, but I just think it's you did a play where it most probably worked out for you for now.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm looking at him this week in place of Brown, but I don't feel great about selling Brown. I think he will have good scores here and there. But yeah, I don't know what to do. It feels like the only way I can fund the Starling trade, which I feel like I need to do the Starling trade if I want to get Hines in a couple of weeks.
Sure. So in your team at the moment, who would you say are the two biggest issue players that you need to get rid of?
Get rid of? There's no one that I really need to get rid of. Maybe Tom Duffy, maybe Jackson Purdue, but Tom Duffy's already gone. Purdue's gone. I think maybe, I don't know, Guyman needs to get rid of or Royce Hunt. I don't think these are must-sell guys, but people I do need are Tino and potentially Haas. I'm pretty happy with the rest of my side. I do want to get Hines, but yeah, Tino and Haas are the big ones for me.
And for you this week, do you have a plan already of who's going to be your vice captain and captain? That's also something I wanted to kind of touch on. Sorry, I sprung that on you, but yeah.
No, that's okay. I already said it today. My vice captain is Reece Walsh versus the Cowboys, and my captain is Kalen Ponga at the moment, but I could do a late switch to Tom Trbojevic.
If I buy you a 6-pack of anything you want, alcohol-wise, will you put Reece Walsh as your flat-out captain?
I mean, it doesn't make sense because I'm not. I mean, I'm not utilizing the VC anywhere else, right? Like,
depends. Does a 6-pack make sense of your finest?
No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Okay,
like, I'd happily do it if it was later in the weekend. There was to vice captain, but I feel like with the loops these days, you're not losing out on much.
And I already took a loop as well. A lot of people took the loop, and something that was spoken about that a loop would be more often used now with the flex. For me, I don't
happy with the when you looped.
Yeah, generally happy because I think, especially in round 2 of the season, when I knew I was going to get kind of a high score, I didn't want to risk that.
Yeah.
And if anything, I was going to captain Terrell May. So
it was pretty good option.
That would have been
good.
Yeah. It was good, but it is what it is. I mean, it's all done now. For me, the Suspicious Tomatoes is my team name. I had a really good week, 1,442, which surprised me. I don't know how, but I went up 44,508 spots to get to 4.7 or 4,755 is my rank. Most probably for me, the one thing I have, the two people, well, the biggest disappointment has been Hopgood, who I was really big on, and just Eels have sort of downright gone bad. So my play is trade out Hopgood, bring Horsburgh down to 2RF, get Haas in. I do have Turbo and Ponga as my captains, as a lot of people. If they aren't named DC and Turbo, I'm very close to getting Garrick out and then just looking for more money. I don't even know if I would do that, but I have Cleary, Hines, Metcalf, Galvin. So they pulled out like 350, 400 points for me. Seyfarth, I'm not happy with as well. I can't get, like, is there value in me doing this, right? Boosting, Hopgood, Seyfarth out, Garrick down, get a cheapie in center W, Tino, Haas.
Yeah, I like it. You're getting in two players who everybody wants, and Hopgood has under-delivered in Parramatta side, who was under-delivered, and yeah, I don't mind it.
But getting Garrick out, would you risk it?
I think if you can, like, I'd get in Tino for Hopgood, and then I just leave Haas, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Haas gets the price change though.
Yeah, but can you get both of them still without getting Garrick in the next 2 weeks?
Well, I have Hetherington. That's all. And Gurner.
But I guess that Hetherington is your key to Nicholson if Nicholson looks good this week, right?
Yeah, correct. So my safe play could just be Hopgood to Haas and find something else, or Hopgood and Guyman to Haas. I'll have to figure it out, but I think I definitely want Haas in just to follow what everyone's doing.
Just do Haas this week, and then maybe something comes up next week, because if someone gets injured, then that's your ticket.
I just don't think Garrick has been, like, Manly. What did they win in the first round? What was the score? 42 to 12. And then, I mean, I don't think he's been, like, his break even at the moment is 75. Isn't that a bit concerning?
He's a gun. They didn't do that well last week. He's got so many games at home in the coming weeks. I would hold on to him.
Yeah,
it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, so, but that's my play. I'm definitely moving Hopgood. If Tamale is named, Purdue is 100% going to Tamale, because I have Garrick, Tuapiki, who's doing good for me, Dewey, Arthurs, Shibasaki, and Toya, and then I'll have Tamale. So I'm having basically all cash gen besides Garrick. So that's a good sign. But yeah, that is my team, the Suspicious Tomatoes. You know you love the name. Don't lie about it. And that's the video. That's the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Savs, Supercoach experience. Thanks for joining in. I hope this Walsh play goes absolutely brilliant for you. And I like that you're holding, because I think a lot of people fail in panic trading, but we are called the Rage Traders, so it makes sense.
I wonder how you come up with that name.
Maybe from my whole last season. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. In the description, there will also be Sav's Supercoach Experience channel. So if you did want to see his Supercoach content, go down, look at that. I would say 95% of it is knowledge, and the other 5% of it is banter. So it's definitely going to give you some value. And listen to him. I think you're on every single platform for podcasts as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, Pornhub, OnlyFans.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So you do get exclusive content, is what he's trying to say. And yeah, let us know in the comments below what your plans are for trades, who you are most filthy with at the moment, who's on top of your moron mountain, and give it a like and subscribe, and we'll have more content on the way. Thanks, guys. Good luck, and yeah, trade well.